My fellow Americans, a new day is dawning here in these United States of America, one in which you will be expected to monitor your fellow American, one in which you will be expected to report all subversive behaviors to the authorities. My fellow comrades, we are embarking on a new totalitarian regime, one in which you will not be able to trust your neighbor. But this will be for the good. Yes, this will be for the good of those in power. So for now, enjoy tonight's state-sponsored episode of Planet Hog. Yes, indeed. Planet Hog, baby, coming back at you. Hope everybody's had a wonderful day. Certainly been a long one for me, so I'm gonna knock this bad boy out and then get some shut-eye. Because I tell you what, 4 a.m. comes early. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about, Joe Stalin Biden. See, you had Joseph Stalin. This is Joe Stalin. Joe Stalin is, he's calling on everyone to rat out, to snitch, whatever word you want to use, but to inform the government of any patriotic people. Yeah, see, the protocols of 9/11, namely the Patriot Act and things of that nature, that's now going to be turned on conservatives. And for that, we are on Breitbart's website, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, both of the articles that I'm going to reference today will be down in the description for you to peruse at your leisure. But for now, we are on Breitbart's website, and the headline reads, Biden administration asks Americans to report, quote, potentially radicalized friends and family. Here we go. President Joe Biden's administration announced their plans to create ways for Americans to report radicalized friends and family to the government in an effort to fight domestic terrorism. In a conversation with reporters, one senior administration official explained the importance of stopping politically fueled violence before it started. Quote, we will work together to improve public awareness of federal resources to address concerning or threatening behavior before violence occurs, the official said. The official cited the Department of Homeland Security's, quote, if you see something, say something campaign to help stop radical Islamic terror as a domestic possibility. This involves creating contexts in which those who are family members or friends or co-workers know that there are pathways and avenues to raise concerns and seek help for those who they have perceived to be radicalizing and potentially radicalizing towards violence, the official said. Biden began his presidency with a stark warning in his inauguration speech about the, quote, rise in political extremism, white supremacy, domestic terrorism that we must confront and we will defeat. On June 1st, Biden described the threat from white supremacy as, quote, the most lethal threat to the homeland today. The Biden administration said it would also work with large technology companies on increased information sharing to help combat radicalization. Any particular tech company often knows its platform very well, the official noted. Kind of creepy that this person's not being named, right? Just the official. But the government sees things, actually threats of violence across platforms. They see the relationship between online recruitment, radicalization, and violence in the physical world. The Department of Homeland Security also plans to deploy, quote, digital literacy and, quote, digital fitness programs to help combat malicious content online that bad actors deliberately try to disseminate. The official reassured reporters that the administration's new strategies would remain laser focused on stopping violent acts. Quote, this is a strategy that is agnostic as to political ideology or off the spectrum, the official said. What matters is when individuals take their political or other grievances and turn that unacceptably unlawfully into violent action. The official added that the Biden administration was taking the threat of domestic terrorism seriously and would redirect the focus of intelligence agencies on internal threats. Quote, we are investigating many agencies of the government and resourcing them appropriately and asking our citizens to participate, the official said. Because ultimately, this is really about Homeland Security being a responsibility of each citizen of our country to help us achieve. And that is the end, ladies and gentlemen. That is the end of that article. Whole lot of quotes. Because a whole lot of ambiguous terminology, a whole lot of ambiguous phrases. Well, I think we all know where this one goes. It's kind of interesting to hear them talk about this when Portland is still burning, right? You still got riots going on up there. You still have riots going on in, where was it? Somewhere in the northeast or northwest. So you have all this stuff going on, but white supremacy, that's what we need to, right? You have rampant crime in Chicago. New York is pretty much a war zone now. Same with parts of Atlanta. But white supremacy, that's what we need to focus on. And let's decode the language here. So let's go through the article and decode all of their quotations, quote by quote. Starting at the top, working my way down. First quotation is, we will work to improve public awareness of federal resources to address concerning or threatening behavior before violence occurs. Okay, translation. We will continue our endless stream of propaganda and horseshit, making everyone afraid of conservatism, while continuing to censor and monitor people who have the audacity to be out front and out in the open about being a Donald Trump supporter. Fairly simple. Let's see what we have next. If you see something, say something. Translation. Snitching is encouraged. Next one. This involves creating context in which those who are family members or friends or coworkers know that there are pathways and avenues to raise concerns and seek help for those they have perceived to be radicalizing and potentially radicalizing towards violence. Translation. Everyone in your family that's not a Democrat or not in line with the state, let us know. Next one, rise in political extremism, white supremacy, domestic terrorism that we must confront and we will defeat. Translation. We can't let another Republican populist candidate in office. Next quote, white supremacy. Translation. Conservatism. Most lethal threat to the homeland today. Translation. Most lethal threat to the Democrat Party. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Increased information sharing. Oh, that's talking about your large tech companies. Translation. Spying. What do we have next? This is easy. Any particular tech company often knows its own platform very well. Translation. They've already been monitoring you. They have back doors. They have ways into your technology that you don't know about, where they can access your information. Okay, next one. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. The context is that the Department of Homeland Security plans to deploy, quote, digital literacy. Translation. New community guidelines and digital fitness programs. Translation. more boards of censorship to help combat, quote, malicious content online that bad actors deliberately try to disseminate. Translation: to keep people from being able to spread the truth like we did during COVID. Excuse me, the China virus. Microaggression. Let's see, what's next? Oh, laser focused. The official reassured reporters that the administration's new strategies would remain laser focused. Translation: we're not letting up on the censorship. In fact, we're going to step it up a notch. Oh, boy. Let's see, what's the next one? Next quotation. This is a strategy that is agnostic as to political ideology or off the spectrum. Translation: that is a warning shot to Antifa and Black Lives Matter that your services are no longer needed and will be coming after you as well. Next quotation. What matters is when individuals take their political or other grievances and turn that unacceptably, unlawfully into violent action. Translation: we didn't like that Capitol protest, and we are going to work like a dog to ensure that every single time you protest, it is seen as terrorism until eventually we are able to shoot you dead on the streets. Next quotation. We are investing in many agencies of the government and resourcing them appropriately and asking our citizens to participate. Translation: we are, this snitching policy here is a full court press. Everyone that works for the government is going to be a part of this, and we can use anyone to get to you. What else we got? Because ultimately this is really about Homeland Security being a responsibility of each citizen in our country to help us achieve. Translation: only you. Smokey the Bear. Only you can prevent conservatism. And there you have it, folks. That is all the quotations from this article on Breitbart. Decoded. So it's very interesting to see the government turn and openly admit, albeit through some nuanced language, that they will now start to target their own citizens. But for those of us who have been paying attention, we knew this was coming. Well, now it's here. So anybody who feels as though, this is kind of like those red flag laws where people who feel as though someone who possesses a firearm is potentially unstable, again, not requiring any kind of substantive proof, just a hunch will do. Or if you don't like them, a little vindictive nature, that'll do fine too. And all you have to do is call their snitching hotline and what? People will show up to your house. Well, I'm sure it'll start slower than that, right? I'm sure first it'll be they start monitoring what you do online, which they do already. But the fact that now we're combining with these large tech companies, now see, that's where it gets clever. Because, well, Facebook's already doing it. YouTube's already doing it. Twitter's already doing it. They're censoring people who basically have a conservative opinion. They're censoring people who say the wrong things. But now, with information sharing, well, we can triangulate your location. We can figure out who you're talking to. We can build a nice little dossier to bring to your house, to slam in front of you, and to say, we got you. And again, meanwhile, Antifa runs roughshod. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe that is coming to an end as well. That's the funny thing about these far leftists, these people who are out there pounding the pavement for the movement. And, I'll give them that much. They're dedicated. It's more than you can get conservatives to do. But what they need to understand is, it's almost like Dark Knight Rises. I don't know if you guys saw that Batman movie, The Dark Knight Rises, with Bane, and it was a great movie until the end, and then the ending just made me hate that movie. But anyway, that aside, there was a scene in that movie where there was some intrepid, underhanded would-be politician who aligned himself with Bane and their cabal. And there was a scene where, it was right before he kills him, he says, "Your services have been useful until now." And that's exactly what's about to happen to Antifa. That's exactly what's about to happen to Black Lives Matter. Your services, those riots you caused, all the chaos, the mayhem, yeah, all that stuff that made Donald Trump look bad, right? Burning down cities, tearing down statues, attacking people. That was all great. Terrorizing neighborhoods. Oh, good stuff, good stuff. But now we're in charge, and we need to bring it to an end. Because if it persists, then people will see that it wasn't Donald Trump's ineptitude that led to this. So we need to bring it to an end. And we can't very well just let you people go home because, well, after all, we know what you are. That's why that's why Comrade Kamala was bailing them out of jail with her campaign fund. Well documented. That the Vice President of the United States was literally bailing out rioters. Some of this stuff, man, we really are like frogs in a pot, because some of this stuff, like, you have to say it a couple times and then it hits you like, damn. The Vice President of the United States was bailing out rioters? Yes. Yes. With her campaign fund. But now we can't have you running the streets because, well, we don't trust you. You cause trouble. That's why we like you. But we're done. So they'll cut bait with them as well. But make no mistake about it, the primary target in their crosshair will be conservatives. The primary target, the chief reason why we have this being passed is because we can't afford to have another Donald Trump situation. And on the one hand, I glean a little bit of optimism from that. Because on the one hand, that means that obviously the voices are amplifying. I mean, for them to do something this drastic, they wouldn't be doing this if it was if it was just a fraction of the population, if it was a microcosm of American society that felt this way. I don't think they would risk exposing themselves this way. They would just continue to censor you and hope you go away. But to take action this drastic, I think, speaks to the fact that the voices are getting louder and the population of people who are not with the shit is growing. While that's good news, well, it comes with a challenge. I won't say it's bad news. It comes with a challenge because organization is the key. And right now, that's what they're trying to prevent. If they can monitor your social media, if they can monitor your transmissions, because it said large technology companies, so that would probably include your cell phone carrier. That would probably include whatever computer you have. It has a camera on it. So now it's almost like compartmentalization just digitally performed, because we can monitor you. So we don't necessarily have to put, back in the day, they would just grab you and stick you in a room. Everybody goes in their own separate room. Well, we don't have to do that anymore. It's too drastic. It's too dramatic. And then it would wake the laggards up, the people who still believe that none of this is going on. Well, then they would be necessarily awoken from their slumber. So now we have a way to do it where we don't actually have to physically move you, because pretty much everything you have has a listening device built into it. Alexa, are you spying on me? Yes, you dumb bitch. I have been listening for years now. Please keep talking. Well, perhaps you've noticed the little trend where if you mention something long enough, like, I don't know, buying a boat or detailing your car or redoing your kitchen, whatever it is. But if you mention it long enough around your phone, you all of a sudden start getting advertisements for it. And if you haven't noticed it, try it out. It'll start popping up on your Facebook. You'll see it on your Instagram. You'll see it on your news feed. All of a sudden, all these ads pertaining to things that you were talking about around your phone. Pretty much everything you have has a camera built into it. How many people have Ring doorbells? Everyone has a camera phone. Most people have computers in the house. So really the only thing they needed was access, which they have now. But it doesn't stop there, folks, because I have another article for you. Massachusetts school district asks students to report incidents of bias among peers and faculty. Just like with all of their movements, they started with the kids. Well, not that they started with them, but the kids are a primary target. So now we're going to get little kids used to the idea of telling on their teachers, parents, fellow classmates, but we're cloaking it under the guise of protecting against hate speech and equality. And this is really clever, and you really should see this as complimentary. Well, I'm not going to tell you how you should see it, but I see this as complimentary. Because, well, you do have people like me who, on weekends and when I'm not working, I have two phones. One for the bitches, one for the hoes. No, I have one for work and one for personal. But during the weekends, I distance myself from my phone as much as possible. I actually try to wean myself off of it as much as possible. Well, what's another listening device that we can put on you? See, you can get rid of Alexa. You can get rid of your Ring doorbell. You can get rid of your computers. You can get rid of your cell phone. But if we build another listening device in your child, well, you're not going to get rid of that. So we'll be able to bug you any way we see fit. And now that we're teaching the little whippersnappers to come to school and snitch on you, they are basically a mobile bug. But let's dive in. Wellesley, fucking Massachusetts. You massholes have some of the weirdest names for shit, and you don't even pronounce it the right way. I'm just going to pronounce it how it looks. Wellesley Public Schools in Massachusetts is asking its students and faculty to report others for, quote, incidents of bias, end quote, to the school district for investigation and potential punishment. Wellesley, which operates a system of schools pre-K through high school outside of Boston, has crafted a plan through its Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion to investigate reports of bias among students and staff. According to school policy obtained by Parents Defending Education, a bias incident is, quote, any biased conduct, speech, or expression that has an impact but may not involve criminal action, but demonstrates conscious or unconscious bias that targets individuals or groups that are part of a federally protected class, i.e. ethnicity, race, national origin, sex, gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, religion, or disability. It continues, biased behavior can also be described as when someone treats another person differently or makes an offensive comment because of their membership in a protected group, such as their race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, religion, or disability. So, if your kid misgenders, that's punishable now. But if your kid treats someone differently, so now if your child is hit on by a gay person, by a child that claims gay, and they say, no, I'm not gay. Ooh, well, that's treating them differently now, isn't it? Because would you treat an attractive girl that way? No, you wouldn't. So now we have this umbrella term where we can throw anything in it. Moving on. Reports of bias or discrimination, including sexual harassment, may be reported anonymously online or told directly to a faculty member. Possible punishments for student violations of the school's policies include detention, suspension, or other restorative responses that require them to acknowledge their responsibility and minimize its impact. Do what we say. Teachers and staff, even community members, may run afoul of the guidelines, prompting action by the school. A staff member would be subject to disciplinary procedures of their bargaining unit, which might typically include a process of formal warnings and reprimand, suspension, or more serious consequences. Non-staff adult community members may be sanctioned by limiting or ending their participation in Wesley Public School community activities or ending their ability to be on Wesley Public School premises. And if you don't think parents are coming soon, they're going to add that next. They couldn't add that all at once because that was just too much. That was too big of a bite. But parents are coming soon. Pretty soon kids will be snitching on their parents because what they want to do is replace the parents, the brothers, the sisters, the mothers, the fathers. Well, that's the parents. The aunts, the uncles, the friends, the cousins with the government. As part of its training on equity protocols, the school teaches that incidents of bias can take place in the form of passing a comment, a rude joke, a text message, or a social media post. Reports of bias are handed over to DEI to determine if an investigation is warranted, and if so, who will oversee it. The training protocols note that the bias incidents should be reported even if they happen outside of school and off school property. So if you do it at home, if your family goes on a vacation and you do it there. One slide on quote reports involving social media says that the bias can turn up in social media posts in form of political speech. There it is. Don't you dare be a conservative. Don't you dare have Republican principles. Microaggressions, which is just thought policing. You can't say really anything. Anything that a simpleton can distort or contort to be offensive. Calling someone short, that's a microaggression. Saying that you're smart, that's a microaggression because it implies people are stupid. You see how this works. Inappropriate conduct, hate speech, and direct threats. A note at the bottom of the slide says that off-site conduct is covered under the school's bias and discrimination policy, quote, if it impacts school or work environment. And that's how they loophole it right there. Because how can you prove that it doesn't? That's what they're going to try to make you do. You can't prove a negative. They will say, well, yeah, it's under this because it impacts the school or work environment. And you will say, no, it didn't. It happened at home. They'll say, well, show us how it doesn't, because he goes to the school and he's bringing these thoughts to the school, so it's impacting the environment. Take your kids out of these fucking public schools. It is, the rest of the article goes on a little bit more. All right, I'll just read it. Microaggressions are also addressed in the classroom setting, warning teachers and students against making statements such as, you're so articulate. There it is. There it is. See, I got it. And I didn't even, you're so articulate. And you're transgender. Wow, you don't look like it at all. That's also not allowed. Wow. School policy also forbids teachers from, quote, assigning students tasks or roles that reinforce particular gender roles, or from referring to COVID-19 as the China virus. Do you feel the censorship? Do you feel like the things that you can say are getting smaller and smaller and smaller? Because they are. After the DEI decides to investigate an instance of reported bias, the protocols state that investigations may lead to one or more outcomes. Cases are dropped if no evidence can be found of a violation. Won't ever happen. Cases that are found to be supported by evidence, however, are turned over to DEI for discipline and training and are, quote, documented in district database. Wow. They're making a list. Checking it twice. Gonna be monitoring through your device. The thought police are coming to town. They see you when you're sleeping. Oh, that's really creepy, isn't it? Yeah, but it's true. Huh? They know when you're awake. They know if you've been bad or good, so be woke for your family's sake. Shit. So they've created their own little branch of the FBI, right? The DEI. They've got the woke feds in your school now. And we're going to document all of these things. And if you don't think that those things are going to follow you for the rest of your life, a little comment you made like, wow, you're transgender. I don't know why a child would be saying that, but I guess it's a little late in the game to be bringing that up now. And this is where we are, folks. It's in Massachusetts right now, but if you don't think that it's coming to your school, you are obnoxiously naive. And I can't stand those people that say, "Oh, well, it's up there. It'll never happen here." That's what people said about gay marriage. That's what people said about the whole trans thing. That's what people said about a lot of things that are everywhere now. And you know what? If people are dumb enough to keep sending their kids to public school, then we're all fucked. I don't know what else to say. The mask is off now. They are clearly telling you that we are going to program your children to be what we want them to be, which is this woke garbage. We are going to make it so that your children are, they know they can't say certain things. We're basically going to take words out of the English language. We're going to continue to chip away at the First Amendment. We're going to continue to force our bullshit on you, to make it illegal for you to say, well, that's not actually a girl, that's a boy. And that's why it's more important that you say it now more than ever. Because if you stop saying it, you will never be able to say it again. And people have been quiet for too long. Everybody's got to call out the bullshit. This is a full court press at this point. All hands on deck. Damn the consequences. People can't be afraid of this. They know you're afraid of this. They know that you're afraid to lose your job. They know that you have kids and you're afraid that you won't be able to provide for your kids. And those are all very good things, but it's very foolish and short-sighted to think that you're doing the right thing by going along at the expense of what? The future that you're going to leave your children? People look at parents who sign their kids up for a bunch of debt or leave a bunch of debt to their kids. They look at them as irresponsible parents. We're doing the same thing. It's just not monetary debt. It's moral debt. Gotta fight back. We cannot keep holding our tongues. We cannot just stick our heads in the sand and hope it passes us by, because that's what they're banking on. Everybody has to play a part in this before it's too late. Before it ends up in the fucking Constitution that misgendering someone is a felony. Before it ends up in the Constitution that rejecting the advances of someone of an orientation of which you are not a part of, i.e. a gay person for a male or a lesbian for a female, you reject those advances, well, now you're committing a hate crime. Because that's coming too. I don't know where this leaves us. I honestly don't, because part of me is like, the secession is the best option because these fucking people are nuts. But until that happens, we got to keep fighting. Anyway, folks, that's what I got for you today. The preceding program has been censored. You are forbidden from liking and sharing this video. You are forbidden from tuning in the future. This is subversive. Comrade Joseph Biden and Comrade Kamala Harris, thank you for your support. So, I will serenade you with the songs of my homeland. Until the next time, До свидания.